The following is an example from the medical world, but I'll share it with you. It's fairly generic, but it really underlines a point. And this was a piece of equipment that was being used in a hospital, and it's used all day, every day by a technician on patients. And we noticed that the battery for this piece of equipment would frequently die mid-scan at a random point through the day. And in talking to and observing the technician carrying it out, we began to ask why. And it was not because the tech was using the equipment wrong or because it was somehow faulty. It was just simply that the battery didn't have time to charge between patient uses, between all of the times that it was used during the day. It never got back up to its complete charge. So that was cumulative over time, and at some point it would just die, and the technician would then be in trouble and have to go to another room to find another piece of equipment. So what's going on there? We have insufficient battery life and no time to charge. That was really the issue. So here's an example now from my world in the hospital. We saw an operating room nurse open a piece of packaging with her teeth. I'm sure you've all done this with a chip packet at some point, kind of get the corner and tear it. It's not really a good thing to do in hospitals because of sterility and hygiene, but sometimes, we see it happen. And we asked the question, well, why does it happen? And it was because the nurse couldn't open it with her hands. Well, okay, why? She'd been picking at it for a while and couldn't do it. Why couldn't she open it? Well, the packaging material wouldn't separate. It was too tough. And if you've ever tried to open a chip packet and then all of a sudden it lets go and poof, you've got chips everywhere, that's something you're familiar with. In an operating room, that would be a bad thing. So she was trying to be careful, but it just wouldn't open. She was also wearing gloves, which kind of impeded her dexterity and made it quite hard to get a proper grip and to separate the material. It was two parts. And she didn't see that there was a perforated tear tab actually on the side of the packet, a perforated line. But all sides of the packet actually looked the same, so she couldn't see it. So the temptation, of course, is to just say, well, the solution is we need to shout at nurses and say, don't use your teeth to open packaging. But we now begin to see why it happened. We can think about needs off the back of those. So carrying on the why process, we can see that the adhesive was too strong, so there could be innovation around different adhesives, and that might lead to something using some technology like we see on Post-it notes. She probably does have to wear gloves, so I grade that one out. There's probably not a need there. I don't think we can say, well, she doesn't need to wear gloves anymore, because actually she does in a hospital setting. But she didn't see the perforated tear tab. Well, the perforations kind of all look the same on the side of the packet at first glance. So what could we do? How could we innovate around the packaging maybe to make it more obvious or easier for her to see? Perhaps a red stripe or a flag on one corner that says tear here that would make it easier to identify. So that's one insight on the left-hand side there that's taken us to potentially multiple potential solutions or needs on the right-hand side, which we could then have quite interesting brainstorms around.